Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.
And Famous Dave.
And this is Double Agents, episode 14, The Best of Enemies. I don't even get that. What's that reference?
I don't know.
Darrell and Leroy? Was that a big betrayal between those two? And we just didn't understand it? I don't know. Watched by 0.89. This is about the third episode watched by 0.89. If that means anything. It's not too big.
Numbers at this point.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Are the producers also Nielsen rating people? What the fuck?
Well, I mean, it's the same amount of people watching, you know? Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Before we get to the mission, is there anything you want to include? I just want to dive right in, so to speak.
Yeah, let's just dive right in. Wait, so you said it was episode 14?
Yes.
Okay. All right, yeah, let's dive in.
It's so important that it's episode 14. Or what?
So when I title the episode, I will title it episode 14.
Oh my god.
I'm not going to remember.
I look behind the curtain. I look behind the curtain, everybody.
Yeah, producer Dave.
All right, man. This is the mission Undercover, which is where you and your partner swim underwater between two tectonic plates, the crusts of the earth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, was it super annoying to you when they were doing that? I don't even remember what cast member it was, but they're like, tectonic? I think it was Amber. And then the producer's like, tectonic. And she's like, tectonic? And he's like, tectonic. She's like, tectonic? He's like, tectonic. And I'm like, y'all just said the same word the same way 8 times in a row. Like, you could have just said, yes. It's like, yeah, you pronounced it right. Good job. You don't have to repeat it 8 times.
Well, so they do that. You really can't tell too much that it's this very unique place to swim. Like, the water's clear. But there's not really like any shot of it like being super deep, right?
No, it doesn't seem very deep. And
yeah.
I'm not sure how long it is. I wish they would have given us some kind of aerial view, like a map, and then, show the line of where the tectonic plates meet. And so, I don't know. Okay. So they're just going through a giant crevice. A crevasse. Crevice? Crevasse?
Yeah, man. So I don't know. So it's got that going for it. Apparently, it's like very clear and shit. But it is a little unique where they're not. They can't come up for air, right? But they have these breathing things. What are these things?
It was just a little portable oxygen tank.
Is that what they are? Is that? Oh, you say that so casually, like everyone owns one by now.
Well,
I've never seen this before.
I have it next to my jetpack in my closet.
That's my jetpack, Dave. You bring it back. You bring it back from Oklahoma. That's how you got to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I need this shit, man.
Okay, but so the other part that's also kind of interesting, right? Because to me, that's a foreign object. I don't understand that. Like, I've scuba dived one time where you kind of put it in your mouth and you breathe from there. So I guess I could figure that out. But don't you need a lot of practice to do that? Just to kind of get used to the breathing thing? Because they had to take this and just dive right in. We see a lot of people freak out and fail, right?
Maybe you're right, because I'm watching it just thinking that these people are idiots. I'm like, you put your mouth around it, and then you go underwater. We saw somebody, they went underwater, and then they tried to put it up to their mouth, but it's like you're also putting water in your mouth at the same time. So if you inhale, you're just going to inhale water. It's like you have to have it in your mouth before you go under. And so somebody screwed that up. I thought, like, when TJ was explaining it, he's like, no, you can't go up for air. Once you come up, it's over. And so I'm automatically thinking, I'm rolling through the cast in my head. I'm like, no one's going to finish this. No one will finish it if you can't come up for air. And then you see them have the oxygen tanks. I'm like, oh, well, you didn't mention they were going to get oxygen tanks. I'm like, everyone should be able to do it. So I went from no one can do it to everyone can do it. Then to watching it, I'm like, oh, apparently it's very hard. But
yeah.
I feel like any challenge like that has to do with water and swimming underwater, people are notoriously bad at it.
Right. Well, I mean, what's the thing with the mask, and it's like a little tube
Snorkel?
coming out the side? Snorkel.
Yeah.
I don't get that as a device, as a thing on this planet. I can't snorkel. I don't. What do you?
It's super easy.
What do you do?
It's like breathing into a bong. It's like the same thing.
Oh, you got me right there.
Now you know what it's like.
Now I know. Apparently I've been living with snorkels all my life. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
It's the same
All
thing.
right, so yeah, without the buzz. All right. So Mission Undercover. Okay, so this is random and it's kind of shitty. Leroy and Casey, since they won the previous mission for the very first time ever in the season, if you won before, you can affect the layout. You could affect the what do you call it?
The order.
The order. Yeah, there you go. So I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? So Leroy's like, well, I guess we'll put Kyle and Aneesa first, and it really kind of sucks because, you know, if we could jump around forward a little bit, Kyle and Aneesa will win. Leroy is going to feel like, oh my gosh, like they're going to come after me. So I'm going to go and turn on Darrell. Or was Leroy always going to do that?
I don't know.
Like, was he always going to turn on Darrell? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I think it depended on the House vote. I think if Darrell was the House vote, then he would have just voted in Aneesa and Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. What?
I don't know. We'll talk about that later when we get to, you know, choosing who's going in against Darrell. But I don't like when I've heard that previously in this season that they also, the winners, the double agents, would be able to choose the order of like what happens in the following mission. I guess what they didn't say was like in episode 2 or 3, when they had to swim out to that boat and then bring back things, and then you'd have to put a canister in, like everyone has like a little tower with like 4 openings or 6 openings. When they did that, I think it was Cam and Leroy who were the double agents. It was Aneesa and Fessy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Aneesa and Fessy. And what they did is they set up the order. They got to choose whose box was next to who else's box. So that way, that was the reason why we saw everyone just saving everyone out. Like everyone was going to save, you know, like Cam and them. And then because they put everyone in one alliance over here and everyone in a different alliance over there.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
That's what I read online. But that's the only other instance I've heard of them doing that this year.
True. Yeah.
But it might be happening in every time, but we don't really know.
Yeah. And again, like before we started recording, we were talking about Survivor and the differences between the two, and just the way everything is filmed. It's almost like you could see everyone competing in one continuous shot so that there's no production dickery and stuff like that, you know? You're like, did they really do it quicker and shit like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was mentioning that. Like, on the challenge, you have everybody does this timed task where they keep your time, but you don't know if they're kind of switching the times around, if they're close, if they're really awarding the winner to the real winner. Where like on Survivor, I just watched 2 seasons on Netflix. When they're doing like a race or like some kind of maze or some obstacle they have to go through, you're watching every cast member do it live in front of your eyes, and they set up like 5 different stations where people are going through it, so you know who the winner is. There's no shenanigans.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. This can never be the fifth sport, as they say, because this will always behave like a game show, you know, where it's like, oh, well, I guess these are the rules now, you know. So, okay, you want to go partner by partner and just discuss? Let's do that real quick, shall we?
Sure. Run through it.
Aneesa and Kyle are first, and spoilers, they win. What can there be said about this? Good for Aneesa. I don't, I feel like we've been shitting on her the entire time in some way. I feel
like this is like the first mission she's completed in a while.
Yeah, I feel like she treated this like a mission, like a final, because every other time she's like, "This isn't the final. We don't have to win."
Yeah. Well, maybe Kyle motivated her. Maybe she just needed the right partner.
True. Yeah. Okay. All right. I like that. Moving on to Corey and Big T. Right away. Before they do all this, right? Big T is like, "Oh my gosh, this is actually more fun than CT, and you're actually listening to me for once, unlike CT." Like, she's just like, I don't know. It's like mentioning your ex in front of your current girlfriend, like, all the time. So like, yeah, you're clearly over him.
My ex would do that. Yeah, exactly. It's like, obviously you're not over your ex.
Oh God, she's so ripe. So by at the end of the episode, for CT is like, take me back. It's all about you. Like he gives her the option. That's why, feeds her ego enough. She's like, yes, I suppose I will.
Yeah, she's like, I just spent the last week getting over you, but okay, let's do this again.
All right, so it's actually Corey that kind of fucks this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Do you remember what he says? Why?
I was not surprised.
Yeah, but he was once almost drowned in his backyard pool by a friend of his.
I was laughing so hard when he was telling that story. I'm like, that is literally what going to the pool was as a kid. You go there with your friends, and everybody, you get held underwater, and you try and see if you can make the person drown as they're struggling to get to the surface. Like,
maybe he was painting it a little bit more cheerier than the grim reality that it was.
Perhaps, but I don't know. I just remember going to the pool, and it was just people would hold your head underwater, and if they were really tall and they get you into the headlock, they'd be able to hold your head underwater. And the terrible way was if they clamped your head between their thighs, and then they could sit their ass down on the back of your neck, and then there was no way, because all of their body weight was on top of your head and you're drowning underwater. But like, these are like fond childhood memories at the pool for me. But to Corey, he has like PTSD over it, and like now he's gonna blame a challenge, a terrible performance. It's like, Corey, you had an oxygen tank. You could have done good.
Well, first of all, I mean, I had to side with him on this a little bit, because when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, something like that, I was with my dad, and we were fishing, but we were up on this rock, and I bent forward towards the edge to like grab something, I don't know, small, right? Like, I already said I'm like 4 or 5 years old, and I lose balance and I just fall headfirst into the water, and all of a sudden all these fish are like flying past me, like, and then my dad like grabs me and pulls me out of the water. It was horrifying, and I'm really not a water guy at all. I don't know if you're aware of this, but yeah.
Yeah.
So when Corey says that he's like, I was scarred for life, and he says it with a smile deep inside, I see it in his eyes. He's
I
like,
knew you'd
no
take
one...
his side, Vince. I knew it. I'd like to say you're wrong and Corey's wrong. Water is not scary. It is the essence of life. I'm going to drink some water.
All right, fine.
Swimming lessons
Move.
for all.
Okay, so Darrell and Amber B go, and Amber B, I think she just drops the breather out of her mouth. She's like panicking a little bit and just drops, and then she just slowly, ever so slowly, just rises to the surface, and then she goes like that, because they're not wearing any life preservers. That's the other thing that kind of makes this unique, because there's only like maybe 2 shots of just how deep it is. It's pretty impressive, but they don't really sell it too much. They should have tried to do that, because it's pretty freaky. Yeah. Me,
yeah, it's freaky to you. Not to me. It looks like fun. But
why can't you ever put yourself in someone else's shoes?
Never. Was Amber the one who got kicked in the face, or who was that?
We're not there yet.
Okay, that was somebody else.
Focus on the here and now.
Well, I was asking because I was like, maybe that's why she floated to the top. She got kicked in the face.
No, that's Festa Nani coming up. Yeah.
Oh, poor Nani. Got buyer's remorse.
Hold on. Okay, so are we done with Darrell and Amber B? I guess we are, right? Yeah. On to Fessy and Nani. I guess everything's been said that could possibly be said. I guess what we have to learn is that Fessy's like a fucking horse, man. You don't sneak up from him from behind. He'll kick you. He'll kick you.
Yeah, he's like Lenny from Of Mice and Men, Just a big dumb guy who's, he doesn't know his own strength.
She didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't go off and say, like, you fucking kicked me in the face. I feel like that would have been younger Nani, maybe.
Yeah, I kind of expected some blow up too. And when it didn't happen, I was like, oh, that's strange.
Yeah. I mean, she might have buyer's remorse, but she's also like, well, let's not get crazy. Like, let's get pregnant by him, so he'll have to marry me, and then I take the house.
I think Nani is single, right? She's always been. I don't think she's ever been married.
Yeah, she's not the marrying type. I mean, that's not her saying it. That's other guys saying like that.
Yeah. Nani has been like super chill this season though. I've been waiting for the episode where she blows up and freaks out, and it just hasn't happened yet.
I don't know. Maybe she is. I mean, do you follow her on like Instagram or anything like that?
No. Does she have an Instagram?
Do you have an Instagram?
No.
All right. Let's go next. CT and Cam, they work pretty good, but then they get to the puzzle, and CT's like, when it comes to puzzles, sometimes 2 heads aren't better than 1.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a conflict with the puzzle. I don't know. It kind of seemed slightly manufactured to me.
What? Oh, God.
Because like you get up there to the puzzle board and you have no idea what you're supposed to do. There's no directions. You're just looking at these rings. You're looking at all these symbols with corresponding letters, and then you have all the letter blocks. So you don't exactly know what you're doing. And then so they're both trying to figure it out, and they're both moving pieces around and letters around. And Cam was like, "Stop moving stuff," because she wanted to just look at it, and CT just backs away. He's like, "Oh, fine, you do it." And it was just like, okay. Like it wasn't like a big fight or anything, but it seemed like they were trying to make it seem like something.
Yeah, there's a couple of shots that are repeated, but then they sometimes do that when they get back from a commercial break. But yeah, I do get what you're saying. I thought you were going to say like, no, they actually got along just fine, and they're pretending to not get along for the camera, like Devin and Tori. That's what I thought you were going to say. I'm like, I don't think so.
No. Cam doesn't get along with anybody.
What? Wow. You know what I noticed these past few episodes? You're really turning on Cam. You're kind of like
Cam has turned
Cam
into
who?
Cara Maria, as far as I'm concerned.
What?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I think she's closer to her on the spectrum compared to who's the opposite of Cara Maria? Evelyn? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like that. Although Evelyn had some Cara Maria moments sometimes, but
once in a while. I guess what I've watched after watching a couple seasons of Survivor and then all these seasons of The Challenge, I'm always interested in the person who is like the top dog in an alliance, but not an asshole. But like it's always an asshole. Always.
okay.
And the only time it isn't is if there's a top dog and they have a right-hand man or woman, and the person who's second in command will be like the peacekeeper. So like in this case, it's like Leroy, and like on Survivor, there's, you had Russell, but you had Poverty, or you had like Tony and you had Trish, where they had like a partner at the top of the alliance and they were more nice. But the head person of the alliance, who's like Cam, they're always kind of an asshole. And it's just a personality trait that you need to have if you're going to be at the top of an alliance, it seems like.
Wow, there's so much to unpack. I think I don't see Cam in that same scenario of like throwing a fit like Cara Maria. I do get the ego part, but I don't see the same thing. Yeah. I don't know. This takes further conversation, but this is only a little piece of the episode.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Cara Maria with confrontation and with like insulting literally everyone on the cast. Like Cara Maria would just insult everybody all the time. At least I think that way. I mean, there's tons of Cara Maria fans out there that probably disagree with that, but I remember her insulting a lot of people. And like Cam doesn't do that, but she does have like an arrogance to her, and you can see it when her and CT are together, where like CT has to like mind his P's and Q's on what he says, and he has to like try and be nice and butter her up a lot. And it's just like,
right.
I feel like CT's not even able to be himself around his partner because he's just afraid of offending her ego.
Well, I mean, whether he likes it or not, he is gonna be able to, because when this is happening, he's like, I can't help but think that Big T wouldn't, she would have just shut the fuck up and let me do the puzzle. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like he's kind of like looking.
She knew her place.
So then he has to fucking go back to her, except it's like a reverse scene of, oh my gosh, we're jumping forward, but a reverse scene of A Streetcar Named Desire. It's like, Stella, he's like pleading for his ex to take him back.
I don't understand this reference at all.
Great, that's fantastic. That's fine. I'm a Marlon Brando fan through and through,
Okay.
man. All right, let's. All right, we're done with.
I'm not as old as you, I guess.
So CT and Cam, they do finish it. They figure it out, right?
Yep.
I want to ask you this before we go any further, because I haven't brought this up yet. What do you think of the word decode as the answer to a puzzle in which you have to decode something? I'm sorry. I should have delivered it in such a way where, like, obviously I'm against this.
I would say it's lazy.
I mean, Kyle stated it perfectly, where it's like, I have to code this thing. Wait a minute. Decode,
Yeah.
It's like, you can't do that. I think there was I don't think there's ever been anything so on the nose before. There's been puzzles where the words are like relating to the show in some way or their team, but never just like, this is what you're doing, you know? God,
like, it couldn't have been like Tectonic. Like, come on. Like,
yeah, Tectonic.
Something.
But there was only 6 rings. How do you spell Tectonic?
Well,
Tecto.
But the thing is those rings, lots of them were like bundled in like 2 together. There was 2 of them together. You could have had like 3 of them together because there was just like 3 different points where they picked up the rings.
Right. Yeah.
So you could have just put more rings together.
It was a bad answer. It was a bad.
Yeah.
What do you even call it? What are they called? Answers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Equation, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Solution.
Whatever. Like, after watching a bunch of puzzles on Survivor, like the puzzles they have on Survivor are so like intricately like carved out of wood and beautifully painted, and like it looks so awesome. And these puzzles are so great. And then I see like the one on the challenge, and I'm just like, oh, they just got a bunch of rings and they put some electrical tape around it, and they put like 3 rings on it, or 3 little like loops of tape on it. And that corresponds with this. And I'm like, I don't know. It just seemed kind of lazy the way it was put together. When I watched Survivor, I was like, wow, this seems like super intricate the way they did this.
Yeah.
But I've only watched 2 seasons of Survivor now, so like maybe they're just reusing all this shit on Survivor, and that's why it looks so nice and new. Is they're just going to use it again the next season and the next season? So
yeah, maybe. It's like every episode they're just reusing Hall Brawl the entire time.
Oh yeah, so I guess
like Hall Brawl is slowly becoming like, I don't like it anymore. It's being overused. Same with trivia, you know.
Yeah.
All right,
Pole
so let's get to
the only thing that is timeless.
What is pole wrestle?
Yeah, it's the only thing that I don't get sick of. As long as it's not like Fessy versus Jordan, where there's going to be an obvious winner. As long as they're like somewhat similar in size, I want to see it.
I need more variation. I feel like pole wrestle has had so many different variations, but it's really made a comeback over the seasons. I think it appeared in Duel, and then it wouldn't come back until maybe the Ruins with the rope wrestle with Johnny and Dunbar and Susie and Kimberly. And it rained. You know, this is my Abed mind going back to and it was actually a cliffhanger. All right, should we go on? We have one more pair left.
Yeah.
All right. Leroy and Casey. Okay, so this is nuts, man. I thought they could win. I really kind of thought that, you know, and they're working really well together. And Leroy, you know, he kind of said like afterwards, is like, you know, I'm trying to keep from crying, but like, you know, she asked me, she's like, did you want to run it with Cam? And he's like, no, for real, like I want to run it with you. And so they both are very kind of like hesitant about each other because they're like, we're not even on the same wavelength. You know what I mean? But they both kept with each other, and they're actually doing really, really good. Like, this is nuts. And with all this, it seems like the longer you're with your partner, the better you do. I mean, well, no, Anissa and Kyle are fresh together, aren't they? Fuck it, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, Leroy wants to stay with Casey because I think he's smart, and I think like Casey's the best female competitor there. Like Cam is
because she's not
Cam's at the head of her.
Anti-Cam tirade.
No, I'm just saying Cam in an elimination is the last person you want to face off against, but in a final, Casey is the last person you want to go against.
Cool, man.
I mean, it's like CT is Cam and Casey is more like Johnny Bananas, you know? She's smaller, better cardio. We've seen Cam in a final and She didn't win.
Go on. Well, she didn't. Neither did Casey. What are you talking about?
No, but Casey was going up against Jen, who Jen was phenomenal. Like, Jen is one of the best female competitors we've ever seen on the show. Like, look at her. Yeah. She's, like, jacked. She looks like, Paulo Costa, but a chick.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's move on, man. In the end, there's a little bit of trickery with TJ. He's like, "Hey, CT and Big T and I don't know," but he was like talking about these other people, right? Oh, Leroy and Casey, you guys really overtook your fear to come out and do really well today. But the fastest winner or fastest person is Kyle and Anissa. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, if this was my first episode, I'd be like, what the fuck's up with that, TJ? And, if my mind was wiped, I would still pick a fight with them. I'm like, what the fuck? You're so weird. You're so goddamn weird.
Everything's a swerve. It's like, and it gets old. And even like Kyle says it in the confessionals where he's like, oh, and like he said it a couple episodes ago. He's like, all right. Because anytime you're in an elimination, you're going down there, it's always a swerve. Is it guys' day, girls' day? Well, I'm glad to see you two guys down here, but tonight is not your night. It's going to be girls. And they're like, oh my God, everything's got to be a swerve, and it's super annoying. And like the contestants are over it. The viewers at home are over it. Like, just present to me what is happening. All right.
All right. Let's go to the club, which I'm over that, man. This is ridiculous. They walk 12 feet. They all have to go 12 feet into an igloo, which has been proven to be colder in there. We've seen cold breath. Darrell in this episode is wearing a coat. Like, it sucks. This would really suck. They're like, hey, you want to get drunk, Dave?
In there trying to heat it up. Did you see the heat
they should, yeah. That'd be nice. But they're in an igloo, like an airtight igloo. Something's gonna go down. Not a real igloo, like the Eskimos did.
Or yeah, it's Inuits. Like a greenhouse, basically.
Yeah. Well, no, it's kind of like they used the dome from Battle of the X's 1, and they put it through a laminator or something like that.
Oh, did they? Yeah. Did they recycle
it? They did. Okay, so anyways, I only bring this up because I'm tired of the club, but this is where Leroy's going to Darrell, and he's like, "Hey, man, I know that we were like gonna shoot each other straight, and we had an agreement. We've been working together and stuff." But he's like, "If you were to go down and be house vote, I'm just saying this is probably why, and it's probably because I would have to do that." Like, he's just really trying to break it down, saying like, I am gonna vote you in. You are gonna be the house vote. But Darrell's response is great because he's like, well, if I go in, then everyone's up for grabs. Like, the more I see it, the more it makes sense to get a better partner. I'm looking at Cam. I'm looking at Casey. As for my girl, fuck that. I'm not staying with her.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts.
I'm confused. Like, Darrell, like 3 episodes ago, you had a chance to get a different partner, and you're like, no, I'm going to stick with my girl, Amber B. And it's like, at the time, I was screaming like, dude, like, CT is picking Cam. Darrell, you need to pick Casey. Like, that was your opportunity to, flip this game on its head. But Darrell's just stuck with his partner.
Oh, I kind of had the feeling that, it is true that he should try and get someone else. Or, it could be true. It could be argued that it's true. But I also felt it as Darrell saying, like, don't put me in. I will take your partner. He's more like, I don't know, bluffing. I don't know.
Yeah. But when they were doing I think when they showed right after they were done swimming and Amber B sucked at it, he's like, I don't know if she really has the motivation, to make it through a final, if she has what
Right.
it takes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
For
seems
sure.
like he's really like, now that the final's getting close, he's having, second thoughts about sticking with Amber.
Yeah. But it was just this awesome scene, I thought, out of all the people that respond to you possibly going in, his was good because it was for real. Like he's like, maybe I should maybe take your partner, that sort of thing. And that was the scene, and just the way he delivered it, the way
Yeah.
that it just seems like Jarrell is kind of like CT in a way, or like these certain people that are like like those are some significant casting that we got him on our show and not Survivor, not Big Brother. He's on our show. And he doesn't
Mhm.
even seem like he should be on reality TV. He's just like a real dude, and he's got that real competitive edge. We know he's a boxer, so it's great. It's awesome. Great scene from Darrell. I was like, by the way, we typically have at the end of the season, we have a Oscar sort of ceremony where we give like best supporting male challenger and best male challenger, shit like that. And Darrell totally got to get nominated for something. He was amazing this season.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you think.
Like, I'm not. I don't feel like over the course of the season, like I feel like Darrell. I forgot he was there for like the first 6 weeks because he was barely ever on TV.
That is his signature calling card. He always hangs out in the back. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like we only see Darrell towards the end of the season because it's like, oh, there's like 8 or 10 people left.
In terms of presence, Darrell is like those replacement people showing up and just all of a sudden they're in the challenge. In terms of presence, you're like, oh my god, I forgot Darrell was here. Holy shit!
Yeah,
put some bells on you. Yeah.
I don't know. Does Nam get voted for anything? Do you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought. Well, I mean, I think usually we restrict it to 5 guys and 5 girls. I don't know who else would be nominated. I did like Nam though.
Yeah,
I'd be totally open to nominating.
Devin, kind of. Devin had his
moments. Nam gets the nomination. Oh shit!
Oh.
All right, man. Should we carry on?
Yeah.
My wayward son.
Did anything else interesting happen in the dome?
No, I mean from what I remember, unless you remember something.
No, I don't remember anything. I kind of just zoned out when they were in the dome.
Yeah, it's not fun. Okay, let's get into deliberation. That's where my fucking eyes roll over white. Where I'm like, oh god, I don't give a fuck about this fucking scene. Really, every single time it's deliberation, I'm like, I don't care. People, for the most part, have already made up their decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Corey's just like, hey man, I want to be house vote. Want to add something to it because I'm ready to move on to the chamber.
No, I mean, so it was either between Corey and Darrell for the teams that are going to get voted in, right?
Was that brought up during the deliberation?
I think so. Because Corey doesn't have a skull, so Corey wants to go in.
Right.
You know? But then people are like, yeah, but and it was the only discussion was, do you make Corey the house vote or do you just let Kyle and Anissa pick Corey?
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's go into the chamber. Kyle, okay, it's revealed that it is Darrell and Amber B are the compromise agents. Kyle right away, he's like, let's put CT against Darrell. Bing, bang, boom. Like, it's all over with. And I was right with him. I'm like, fuck yes. Even though I love those two, I wanted those two to be in the final. That would have been like Christmas to me. I'm like, fuck yeah, man. Christmas morning.
I completely agree. I was like, Kyle was right. I'm like, they voted down Darrell to go in, which to me, I still don't understand it. Like, in that situation, you have to vote in Corey, because Corey is the easier to beat of the two. Because if you're Leroy and you're going to vote for someone, you want Corey to be automatically in there. So that way, if somehow you get chosen to go down in there, if there's a blind side by Kyle and Anissa, that you're going to face Corey and you won't have to face a Darrell. Because you'd rather face someone like Corey than Darrell, like track record wise. You know, Darrell has a much better record in eliminations. So I was confused at why they would even make Darrell the house vote and why it wasn't Corey.
Yeah, it was, and I was really, to jump forward, I was really shocked that they were going to honor the request to put in Corey.
Yeah.
And Anissa, of all people, Anissa's like, hold on, you have to realize that what you do isn't just happening now and forever, but it's just going to happen now and something else is going to happen. I'm like, where's this foresight coming from, Anissa? You are the queen of like, I'm just doing my game and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want right now. So that was weird. That was really weird.
Okay, so when Anissa said that, I was trying to read into it and try and figure out exactly what she was saying. Was she suggesting that, hey, if we piss these people off here, they're going to be pissed off on the following season, on season 36, 37, 38. We don't want to piss them off long term. We want to keep that, we want to keep good with them. So if we keep our word now, that's, you know, we don't want to make enemies in the future. Was that what she was saying?
I really don't know, because usually Anissa's full of shit in my eyes. Yeah. I really had no idea where this was coming from. This was so anti-Anissa.
Yeah, like it makes more sense if you're like, oh, Darrell's down there. Well, Darrell is probably the strongest person in a final. At least that's what I would say, because he has the best endurance, I think, of any of the guys there. So I'm like, okay, who's the guy who could take out Darrell? I'm like, you know, CT or Fessy. I thought those two guys, I thought you'd have to send in one of those guys. Or even Leroy. I didn't think Corey would beat him, but I didn't know what the elimination was going to be. I didn't realize it was going to be a foot race. So.
Oh, right.
So well, obviously, okay. They did send Darrell home, but it was almost by like accident. I don't know. Or maybe they saw what it was and then they changed. Maybe Kyle and Anissa saw that, like, hey, it's this. The faster person is going to be able to win. So let's pick Corey because Corey's the fastest guy in a sprint.
Well, let's catch up the show to what you're saying really quick. Let's go to the elimination, and it's called Snapping Point 3. Well, I'm calling it Snapping Point 3. TJ says this is the third iteration of Snapping Point. The first one was with Wes and Devin, which was just totally lame. Remember that? And then it was Casey and Teresa, which was way better and totally, almost completely different. And now this resembles nothing of Snapping Point. They're not connected to each other in any way. This is all about speed. They said that they changed the tension on the rope. By giving it none? Because every single time Corey would just like run to the fucking and dive for the bell, unless that's when he could tell there was some pull. But yeah, I'm like, this is not at all what Wes and Devin had to do. This was all about speed. And this was not at all what Casey and Teresa had to do. You know, this was just a sprint. Yeah. Well, the rope was completely ridiculous.
When I was watching it, I was like, when I record with Vince, I'm going to ask Vince a question. And this is my question, Vince.
Okay.
Why did they have a rope attached to their back? And I think there's one correct answer.
Yeah? Okay. Can I guess it?
Yeah.
I think it was just for when you push that button, the rope of your opponent would get pulled backwards. And that's what happened to Darrell. Like he was shot with a shotgun in a movie where you're like, he's flying backwards.
Did he really? I didn't even notice that he got pulled backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, like my answer to that question, why are they attached to the rope, is for no fucking apparent reason. Because I'm like, it's a foot race. I'm like, literally, all you do is you weave in and out of those 4 poles, and then you run and push the button. And I'm like,
Yep.
the rope didn't do anything. I thought the
Not a
whole
damn thing.
reason was like you're supposed to dig yourself into the sand. You're supposed to pull each other. It's going to be endurance. It could be over in 2 minutes, but it could go on for an hour and a half. You know?
Yeah, yeah. TJ's like, it's going to be about speed, or it's going to be about endurance. But the possibility of it being like an endurance thing, I think that's why. Okay, round 1, Corey just is super quick, right?
Yep.
Just like, and people are saying like, oh, Darrell, he's actually really slow and shit like that. But in the second round, Darrell is just behind Corey, right? And when Corey jumps forward, so does Darrell. I think Darrell figured this is where they're both going to catch the slack, and he could somehow halt Corey while he's halting himself, right before he gets to that button. But I don't think there was any pull to that rope at all.
No, there was no tension.
Yeah, you see Corey press that button, and he's lying there. He leaped up, so his arms, and we see Darrell sprawled out because he leapt right when Corey did. If they were attached to a rope, that would make sense. Yeah, the rope was window dressing. I don't know what you call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was BS, man. All right, but do you say good on Corey?
I guess. Like, I don't know.
It's hard to give him praise, isn't it? Even though he was quicker than Darrell by a lot.
It was a foot race, but I feel like the elimination was always sold as supposed to be like kind of a tug of war. But when it was like Devin and Wes, the tug of war was over like 2 feet. Like they were so close to the button. Where like in the past, you would have to move your partner. You'd have to like drag them like 10 feet or something in order to finally hit that button. But with like Wes and Devin, it was shortened to like 2 feet. And then I don't really even remember the Casey and Teresa one other than Casey just kind of destroying her. Like Teresa was slowed down and slowly dragged backwards.
Yeah, she was assuming it was going to be an endurance thing. She tried to plant herself there to last for hours and hours, kind of like what she did to Camilla. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just have to say that this is by far the it's kind of a bummer because this is snapping point 3. So far, we had a season where you had all these eliminations and then they started to repeat themselves, right? I don't think we went through all the eliminations and all of a sudden we have a third repeat of all them, I don't know.
Yeah. What about, you remember when Leroy beat, I forget who Leroy beat when he won his elimination, where they were tied on the logs?
Tied on the, oh my
gosh, there's like a giant pipe and they're hanging from their feet.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they have like
that was that was the fire escape or something like that.
Yeah, we've only seen that one episode, right?
No, that was the second one. The first one ever was Ashley and Natalie, and then they repeated it for Leroy, and they made it bigger and more fire, even though the fire has no fucking point.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that one was super long ago, and I feel like we just saw this one with Casey and Teresa. This was probably like 4 episodes ago, it seemed like.
Yeah.
It seemed fairly recent.
All right. What do we got next? Okay. So Corey is all happy and stuff, and he should be. Apparently, neither one of us want to give him praise for this win. We're just like, eh.
Well, I mean, in a foot race, a guy in his 20s is going to beat a guy in his 40s. Like,
oh, shit.
But if it actually came down to, like, endurance or, strength or something like that, then it would be, like, an even competition. But yeah, Corey's faster. It was like when when Wes got beat by Dario, Rafi or Dario, and when they were
Right.
like in like this little like underground, you had to crawl through the little maze, and it was just about speed. That's all it was, and it was like, well, of course Dario's going to beat Wes. Wes is like 35, and Dario's like 24. Like he's so much younger. Younger people are always faster.
Yeah. All right. Okay, but right away though, people are talking about like Corey, he broke the curse, and I'm like, the curse wasn't about Corey not being able to win an elimination. The curse was that if you were partners with Corey, you would get eliminated.
Yeah.
So yeah. So technically, I mean, this is kind of like, oh my god, this is like some fucking Final Destination shit. Where like, oh my god, well, you technically changed seats on the plane, and the fire traveled down the plane like so, and therefore death is going to come after you in a certain, sequence or whatever.
Yeah.
Because right now, if death has a design, and I'm being played by Devon Sawa, you're being played by Ali Larker. Is that her name?
Okay.
Or Sean William Scott. You could be Sean William Scott.
Yes,
I'm like, the challenge has this. The Corey death has a design. So either Big T next episode is going to be eliminated because it's going to be a female elimination. One would think.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be Cam, who is going to get eliminated next episode, man.
Well, I think it's probably over at this point. I think that Corey picked Cam to be his partner, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
So I don't think Cam's going to go in again. So I think Corey's partner's safe from here on out because I don't think they're going to go in.
So the way to beat the curse had nothing to do, like, yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Just to yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, so next week we're gonna have like a girls' elimination, and then we're gonna have the final. Like, just trying to project where the season's going. Like, are there seriously gonna be 10 people in the final?
They were supposed to be. There's
right. Okay.
Yeah, 10 skulls.
Well,
right.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I always thought that like, hey, maybe at the end you could have someone with a skull versus someone with a skull, but one of you's going home, and then only 4 guys and 4 girls. I don't know, because there's always weird twists
that's
like
right. He said that at the very end of the episode. TJ's like, oh god. Well, hold on, we're jumping forward by like 3 minutes. Okay, so Corey takes Cam. How? I mean, Cam's. I'm sure you were mad. You're like, oh my god, you're an idiot. Why didn't you pick Casey? She's the most obvious fucking option there ever was.
I know. Just take Casey. I would pick Casey.
But my thing is that I don't think everyone is gonna just have the same partner the entire final, unless. If you don't have a partner, you get switched every other part of the final. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I'm really not sure about it.
I'm 100% positive you're gonna have one partner in the final, and you'll run it like Battle of the Exes 2 final. Like you're just attached to that one person.
All right.
Or like Bloodlines, that final where you're just with that person. Like, but who knows? I can't say it with 100% certainty, but I'm just I'm basing my thoughts off of that assumption.
So Corey takes Cam. So CT's up there, and TJ's like, hey, how does it feel to be a Rolling Stone? No, he's like, how does it feel that Cam was taken from you or whatever? And he's like, well, I figured, she's a tough woman to hold, to keep or whatever. But, if there's a woman down there who will give me a second shot, And so he gives Big T the options. She totally could have said like, you know, go fuck yourself, you shite. You know, because she's always talking about how she hates CT. The moment he said Cam, it was always Cam, give me Cam. She's like, I'm gonna vote him in every fucking time. You know, she just hated him. So he gives her the option. Yeah. She said that to Gabby right next to her. She's like, I'm gonna fucking vote him in every time. Yeah, immediately, within seconds. Yeah. So CT was like, you know, give us a shot, you know, a second shot at this. And she's like, yeah, okay. What do you think about that? Do you think? Well, I don't know. What do you think? You like it? You hate it? Are you numb? What are you?
I don't know. It's like he did the only thing he could do. He has to take Amber. Like, you can't take Amber, I don't think.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, he serenades, you know, that's what she said. She's like, oh my God, CT serenaded me from the balcony. It was very romantic or whatever. You know, but what else was he going to do? He did the same thing when he had to be your partner before. He was just happy to be in the game. And that's what was like, Big T, woo! And he's cheering and shit. And this time he's going to make a different approach, but the same thing of like, hey, I'm glad to be your partner.
Yeah, it was like, you know, CT had a wife, and then he decided to cheat on his wife, and he's with somebody else, you know, this new girl. But then, like, his fling that he's with, she just, like, dumps him. So then he has to go crawling back to his wife. It's like, babe, I'm sorry. I know I was unfaithful, and I hooked up with Cam over there, but I'm crawling back to you, baby. Like, take me back. It'll never happen again.
Okay. So does that mean the entire time Big T was, like, crying and, like, saying, like, you're a bastard and shit like that, you know? I'm going to, you know, vote him in every time. Was it real? Was it not real? Or was it real and CT just had to say those magic words, just had to pet her ego, and he's right back in there, man.
Oh,
you know, like, I don't know. I feel like
I think she was pissed off, and I think that she was very reluctant of getting back with him.
But she took him back.
But she kind of had to.
Yeah?
It's not really up to her. It's up to CT. CT gets to pick the girl.
Really? Oh, okay. I never even, like, to me, he was like, hey, you want me? Okay, if not, I'll just go to Amber B. And you're saying that she was going to get picked by CT no matter what?
I think so. Like, CT offered it to her. He's like, is it okay if we're back together? You know,
so if she would have said, fuck you and fuck the queen. I don't know why I said the queen, but I'm English. Fuck you, CT.
But she doesn't want to be a free agent, you know? That doesn't make any sense for her to be a free agent.
No, that's not what I'm saying, though. You're saying that if she would have said no, CT would have said, well, guess what I think of your fucking restraining order? I'm fucking going inside the house. Is that what you're saying? CT was going to be like, I don't care. We're partners again. Maybe not that graphic and
like I
Cops
don't know.
episode.
I'm a little confused by your
no, you're trying
situation.
You're trying to say that she had no choice. You're trying to say, like, she said yeah because she was like, well, he's gonna pick me anyways. I don't know. I didn't feel that way. You're saying that. You're saying CT was like, I'll give you your moment of the sun in the sun, but I'm gonna get you anyways. I'm coming for that ass.
A little bit, like, because CT, it was like Big T doesn't want to be the free agent like Amber B is, because Amber B is just stuck without a partner. So Big T would rather have CT as a partner. So even though Big T doesn't want to be with CT because she's still salty over it, she still has to just like, all right, come back. You know.
So okay. So Big T's like, a girl's gotta eat, or like she, you know, she's kind of in a way taking back her ex. We've seen so many of our friends do, or each other do, whatever. It's that thing like, well, I don't have anyone else, so please come back, or you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, she's in an abusive relationship. CT has wronged her in the past, and he'll probably wrong her in the future. But sometimes you don't have options, and that's why you stay in those bad relationships because you
I
got to
like
see the
I like the right. I like the storyline that we've concocted for CT, who a guy kind of like Kyle left and then had to come back, right?
yeah.
What is the storyline of Cam, who keeps getting taken from guy to guy? Is she just like she's like, oh, I'll just go to wherever the biggest sugar daddy is. Like, what does that mean? I don't even make any sense at all. Like Cam, she's flattered every time. She's like smiling and laughing whenever she gets stolen from some dude. But if I was Cam, honestly, this one I'd be like, I don't want to be with Corey. Like
Yeah.
in the final, mission, like Corey isn't the best. The fact that he was the cursed Corey is just a further example of just him in general. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Cam, like she has enough power in this game where if there's another elimination, she could try and send in like, CT versus Fessy against each other, and then the winner gets to win her. She'll be the prize. Maybe that happens. But
Yeah. She gets to do that thing where like in streetcar races, you see a girl who goes in between the cars and she's like, go. Even TJ lets her go down there and stuff.
Yeah. They play a game of chicken and then the winner gets the girl.
Meanwhile, all the female rights activists like, oh God. What was that, like 50, 60 years down the train? All right. Okay, so CT, Big T. That leaves Amber B as a rogue agent. And the only thing I have to add to this is that for some reason, she's finally come into focus for me. I kind of like Amber B, but she was very emotional when Darrell left, even though I was like, oh God, Darrell was talking mad shit about you in that dome. But
yeah, she didn't know anything about that. She wouldn't have been crying if she heard what he said.
But she didn't. The other thing, though, is that she didn't really cry, at Darrell or with Darrell, whatever you want to call it. She was kind of with Big T, and she was crying, and she was saying all the stuff that she wouldn't say to Darrell, because I feel like Darrell, kind of kept her at arm's length in a way. She's like, no, we're good and we're tight, but I'm Darrell. People don't notice I'm here until like episode 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's because I treat. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it's a little bit cold being a partner to Darrell,
Yeah.
But she's emotional because that's all she knew. This is more like, bad relationships, try to get out of those loops, not be like, oh my God, that's all I know. So I'll find a man who's just like that, or a female, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. It was like, her relationship with Darrell was her ticket to the final and her way to like finish first in the final was with Darrell. So it was, so the analogy here would be Amber B was married to a college football player with hopes that this college football player was going to make it big and make it to the NFL, make millions of dollars. However, his career got cut short. He tore his ACL at his senior year of college, and he's not going to the NFL. And, she's crying because, like, he had so much potential to, take me to the finish, but no, you're going to have to find somebody else now.
Oh, wow. I never got the idea that Amber B was kind of sitting up and just like, well, I happen to have Darrell. There was never that sense of her having some sort of like, oh, I have a safety badge now. I'm on the other side of things now that I have Darrell,
No,
yeah.
but she's a weaker female competitor, and I'm just kind of projecting what Anissa was with Fessy. like Anissa was using Fessy to try and carry her to a final and win a final for her without doing anything. And I feel the same way about Nany with Fessy, and I feel the same way about Amber, the weaker girls that are not named Cam or Casey, basically.
Okay. Why hasn't Kate? No, we're not going to get into it. I think that's the end of the episode, man. End of the episode. 14 is officially done.
Did you
subscribe,
see the preview
comment.
for the following episode?
No, I tried to avoid those. Why?
Like, it literally shows almost nothing. Like, they show them dressed up in some 80s attire in the dome. So they have like a little 80s themed party. And there's a little like verbal squabbling between each other. But then that was it. Like, I don't believe we got to see like any type of like elimination or mission or anything like that. It was just like, it seemed like it was 7 seconds long and it was over. And I was like, well, damn, now I don't have any idea what's going to happen next. So I'm really interested in the next episode because I didn't get any type of preview.
All right, I like it. They're just like, you know how we get the next viewers? We don't show them anything.
Yeah,
they're gonna miss
a little bit.
Yeah. All right, man. I think that's it, right?
Yep.
That's the end of the episode. This is Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.
Hardcore Dave.